When I was 12 years old, I wrote in a notebook that I was going to live in California on a house on the hill. It was going to be on General Hospital, and I was going to be associated to a record deal. And I was also going to be in tech, obviously. And all of those things came true. What women can bring into the technology field is amazing. They have a different way of thinking, and I think that they can bridge the gap between their creativity that they offer as well as the business and the tech side. They have a way of collaborating in ways that traditional people in tech have not. I don't know if you know this, but women who are on boards or in IT leadership positions actually increase the bottom line by like 26%, which is huge. I have quite a few degrees. I have a degree, a bachelor's in mathematics, a bachelor's in statistics, a minor in psychology, an MBA in business, a doctorate in business. So to get started in this field is definitely education, education, education. When I was in college, I was told by a professor that I would never graduate in math or statistics, let alone get a successful career. And I said, I'm gonna get a statistics degree. So I went and got a statistics degree, and then I won a really big award at school, one of 1,000 students. Making a difference not only in the community, but also with my grades, called the Paul Cartwright Award. And the reason why was because I was a co-founder of the first technical sorority in America called Women in Technology, Alpha Sigma Kappa. And we have over 14 chapters now in the United States. It's touched thousands of women's lives and given them a voice as well as an opportunity to be successful in tech. And some of my sisters now have had daughters that have actually gone through our program and are actually in the sorority now as we speak. So that shows you how old I am. When I graduated, I was on stage and he tried to talk to me, and it was funny. I just told him, I said, see, don't judge people. You can do it if you really set your mind to it. There are a lot of barriers for women entering the tech industry, and one of them, I think, is just the amount of time that it takes to really learn everything that you need to learn, because it is a very demanding career. You have to, constantly be able to juggle all things and be superwoman, so to speak, right? Especially if you have kids and all the other things. And in addition to that, other barriers exist is, the financial investment that it takes, because it does take a lot of training if you can't get somebody to train you, and you have to go to college for it. Other barriers exist as somebody giving you a shot at it, especially when it comes to leadership opportunities and being on boards. They don't give women as fair of a shake as they do men, and that could be a struggle. Being treated like I was stupid, like I didn't really understand the technology when I did. And a lot of times women are in a room and they offer their ideas specifically around tech, and they're ignored. And then like 5 minutes later, a guy says the same thing, and then all of a sudden they steal their idea and they're embraced for the same idea that the woman just mentioned. So that can be really infuriating. So that's happened to me multiple times. Unfortunately, I've even had been sexually discriminated against in lots of ways, or even had aggression in that way from a sexual perspective, where it made me feel uncomfortable. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do that to try to get ahead. I have smarts, I have brains, and I can show you what I can do. So I think women are faced with a lot of these kinds of things. And I think it's important that you get men who support you as well as women, because sometimes women can be very competitive because there isn't very many and they're competing for the same jobs. I have a dissertation in business, but my focus was on women in technology leadership. And I interviewed over 250 women, and trust me, it was a little hard to find 250 women in tech, but I was able to find enough women, interviewed them on a survey in regards to try to find what aspects really sets women leadership apart and why those women excel in leadership and what are the 5 factors. And of all the factors, the biggest one was sponsorship. And sponsorship is different than mentorship. That's one thing that I want to tell all women is super, super important, even men, right? Anybody who wants to get ahead in their career, it's all about who you know, and it's networking. And so my dissertation was published in that aspect. So one of my favorite companies I ever worked at was Oracle. I was there 7 years. And they actually had a group dedicated to just women in tech. And they would literally meet on a regular basis. They would scope out opportunities for each other to move up in the company and also to help them get to the next level, whether it be a certification or a degree or those kinds of things. And while I was there, I was a senior sales engineer. And then I moved up into a principal sales consultant through multiple promotions. And a lot of that was because of that group that helped me. So I think it's really important that companies spend and invest time in that so that they can help women move forward, as well as help, if they can't do it, help them with, specific groups outside that can, like Lean In or, Witty or some of these other ones, because they're there to actually help you from a career perspective to get to the next level. On my own, I also founded a company called Nonstop for the Top. My focus is on helping women get to the next level and also helping women from consulting, coaching, getting them to the aspect that, migrating through kind of these issues that exist in tech, right? The ugliness, so that they can continue to achieve their dreams. So I do a lot of work from home, which I absolutely love. I do consulting on the side for companies, and then I'll work in different aspects of the house. I have a front room that's dedicated to conference calls and Zoom calls and those kinds of things, as well as I work in the living room and also in my office, kind of whatever I'm feeling, and sometimes even outside when it's not so hot. I also love the aspect of, in the front room, I have a dedicated studio space where I also teach. I teach for one university that's completely online. So I do a lecture every single week for them, and I have different classes that last 8 weeks. And then I shift to another class. Right now, I'm actually teaching an MBA class that's focused on conflict resolution and negotiation. It's a really fun class, so I'm really enjoying it. I'm not a person that can just sit on their laurels and just not do anything. In fact, I have to have multiple things going on, otherwise I'm kind of bored. And it's hilarious because Rick Springfield is like my favorite singer, but I also admire him for a lot more than just his singing because he's so talented in so many areas, and he's the same way. He says he can never retire because he's got to have something going on at all times, and that's how I am, and I just love to do, various things and be accomplished, and for the most part, not just about my own accolade, but giving back so I can make a difference in other people's lives. And that's the reason why I love teaching so much right now, is because I'm seeing the success through them, which just says so much, right? And it gives me that good feeling at the end of the day because I've got that person a job, or I've made that impact where they've done a dissertation that's had huge impact on the industry. You can't replace that with money or anything else. You're leaving a legacy, and I think that's so important. Put yourself out there. Take risk, because if you don't take risk, you're not going to get the reward. And it's super, super important to do this because sometimes women are a little bit shy, like even applying for a job, because they might not have all the skill sets that are required. And in reality, you don't need all the skill sets. If you satisfy 60% of them, you could still apply for that job. And so it's really important to take the effort to do that. In addition, put yourself out there for awards and accolades and keep track of the difference that you're making at a company. If you don't know the impact that you're having, no one else is going to. So you need to speak up for yourself and have a voice. Get as many technology certifications under your belt, whatever degree of passion that you have around, because there's all different aspects of tech. So find out specifically what you want to do. And then when you're at a company, never stop learning. Take advantage of their internal classes, their external offerings that they give. A lot of companies will even give you scholarships. So make sure that you're constantly reading industry and journal magazines, all of those things, and then network as much as possible. Get into LinkedIn groups, learn as much as you can, from those LinkedIn groups, connect with the right people, do informational interviews. All of those things can help you move forward in tech.